It was shortly before the sun started rising when one of the soldiers accompanying our expedition approached me and informed us about something big apparently checking out our camp. He told me they couldn't exactly make out what it was in the dark, but it certainly was large. Not knowing what he was talking about, I watched the rustling tree line close to our camp intensely. Suddenly we heard footsteps and a deep bellowing roar. I immediately turned around and saw one of the Ushayetan we brought along running through the camp, trampling down some of the tents as my comrades were scattered into all directions. The dinosaur was obviously in panic, and it soon became obvious why. A figure so huge I barely could comprehend at first followed soon after with heavy footsteps, jumping at the Ushayetan's tail. It grabbed a hold of the dinosaur and rammed into it with its head. The Ushayetan landed hard on its side, and the massive attacker lowered its head, biting into the dinosaur's body. The Ushayetan roared and kicked in its face, but the attacker did not care. It ripped away a huge chunk from the dinosaur, crunching through ribs and tearing into the lung, immediately cutting off the animal's cries. The monster swallowed the piece whole and roared at the man that approached it, spears raised and screaming. It raised a massive three-clawed hand. I ran over to the soldiers to tell them to back off. One of them was too close, and the towering beast struck him with its claws, sending him flying through the air. His broken, twisted body landed right next to me as I tripped and fell. I saw the silhouette of the creature's wide, massive head high up above me with its reflective eyes shining through the pale light of dawn. It got on all fours and picked up a man with its jaws, tossing him upwards and then chomping down on him with a loud clamp and the sickening crunch of bones. Blood dripped from its jaws. Another soldier mounted on a Necatyrannus approached from behind and stuck a spear into the monster's leg, but he couldn't pierce deep into its tough, leathery skin. He was hit and thrown off his mount by the creature's tail. The dinosaur stumbled, but it managed to escape into the darkness, trampling its rider in the process. I managed to get back on my feet and we retreated. This wasn't a fight we could win. The creature did not pay attention to us any longer as it picked up the Ushayetan corpse and carried it away from the camp. After some consideration, I concluded it had to be the large predator we so far only really knew from the tales of the travelers from this region. The aurisuchians are a diverse and widespread clade of so-called neo-pseudosuchians, an order of pseudosuchian archosaurs descended presumably from Earth's aurisuchians like pseudosuchians. They are characterized by their external ears unique outside of mammalians. Previously I introduced the aurisuchians of Arum, the largest landmass in the setting. 19 species can be found here, excluding marine pinnasuchians like the Olaka, which will get their own video. With that, every family of the terrestrial aurisuchians is present on the continent. One of them are the regolithuchids, together with the siccaodontids, forming the teratognathoid branch of Aurisuchia. On Arum, they are represented by 5 species. One of them is Necatyrannus atrox, the savage killer tyrant, to the locals known as the Atan. The regolithuchids, the family the species belongs to, are composed of mostly large and especially bulky aurisuchians. The Atan certainly is no exception here. Being Karun's largest land predator, they have a great impact on the ecosystem. While the prairies further north are ruled by the Atan Neospinosaurid Taoar or Thanatonax australis, the southern forest steppes appear to lack many predators above 2 tons. The Atan is one reason for that. It claimed these lands for itself and does not tolerate any challenger. But even as a formidable apex predator, it has its limitations, which for now ensure that the tyrant of the forest steppes does not take more than the land can provide him with. Fully grown Atan reach a length of 60 meters or 52.5 feet, measuring almost 6 meters or almost 20 feet tall at the head, weighing around 18 metric tons, although their weight often fluctuates between 17 and 19 tons throughout the year, depending on season and food availability. Despite their great mass, Atan are comparatively lightly built, belonging to a group of aurisuchians that evolved pneumatized skeletons and a system of air sacs spread throughout their body. Nevertheless, they are Karun's largest terrestrial predator, weighing around twice as much as the average Tyrannosaurus. Atan are characterized by a short, stocky build, powerful limbs, a short neck, and a robust, blocky head. Like all Regalizuchids, Atan exhibit minimal to no sexual dimorphism. Fully grown males might average a meter longer and a few hundred kilos heavier, though there isn't enough evidence for this to be considered the norm. Like all Regalizuchids, Atan have extremely powerful jaws. In fact, they have the strongest bite of any land animal on Karun, able to exert almost 100,000 newtons. Typical for the derived aurisuchian skull condition, they have only a single circular temporal fenestra and a distinct jugal bone as well as a sagittal crest. The skull is wide, the snout is relatively tall and short, and the anorbital fenestra is rather small. The skull can resist a lot of pressure, and the teeth are thick and deeply rooted into the jaw. They do have serrations, but they are primarily designed to crush bone, much like a tyrannosaur tooth. Atan need a powerful neck and shoulders to hold up this heavy head. Their necks are proportionally short but very muscular. The arms are relatively long and powerful, ending in three-fingered hands tipped with curved slashing claws. Other than theropod dinosaurs, the wrists can be pronated. The torso is wide and barrel-shaped, housing huge lungs in the secondary chambers. The hips and legs are robust and powerful to carry a lot of weight. Atan have 3 toes on each foot. The tail is heavy and muscular, offering counterbalance to the head and torso. The skin appears leathery and is very tough, especially around the throat area. Subdermal ossicles in the neck and belly area provide additional protection. The back is covered in osteoderms, and the jugal ridges below the eye are lined with thick keratinized plates. The skin's thickness ranges from 4 to 6 centimeters and up to 10 centimeters in more vulnerable areas. The barrel-shaped chest offers space for big lungs, and like many modern aurisuchians, the Atan has air sacs, so a constant flow of fresh oxygen is guaranteed. The eyes are typically of a deep crimson color and relatively large. Atan possess binocular vision thanks to front-facing eyes, granting them effective depth perception. Though only having limited color vision, the vision is keen, even in low light conditions. Their sense of smell is also remarkably precise, and they can detect prey from up to 35 kilometers away, giving them one of the best senses of smell in the animal kingdom. Atan communicate through a wide range of vocalizations, including growls, hisses, bellows, and roars. A lot of their noise is infrasonic and can travel vast distances. The fatty pads in their feet not only serve to silence their footsteps, but also allow them to pick up vibrations in the ground. Like all aurisuchians, their sense of hearing is quite potent, although their auricles are relatively small and primarily serve to protect the ear opening rather than supporting particularly precise directional hearing. Throughout their lifetime, Atan go through different growth stages, filling different niches. As juveniles, they are slender and agile. Their hind limbs are proportionally long, and the skull is relatively narrow. At this stage, Atan hunt smaller, faster prey. As subadults, they start to gradually gain weight, and their skulls begin to widen. In their 20s, Atan begin to experience their most extreme growth spurt. They bulk up massively until reaching their adult size at around 30 years old, when their growth rate usually plateaus. This kind of niche partitioning allows the juveniles to stay out of competition with older siblings or their parents until they are old enough to search for a territory in case of females or a mate in case of males. As adults, Atan are the uncontested apex predators of the southern forest steppes. This biome is a transition of the southern prairies into a temperate mixed forest habitat. It is a combination of grassland and open mosaic forests scattered across the land, becoming more arid with increasing continentality. Since a lot of this region is located relatively far inland, it is characterized by a continental climate. The summers are hot and arid as the land heats up quickly. Temperatures often reach more than 35 degrees at the peak of summer. In contrast, the winters regularly see temperatures below 0 degrees Celsius and are further influenced by cold air from the southern continent Oceania. Further north, aridity is more extreme, preventing tree growth, limiting the range of the Atan. This is because its prey items become less and less abundant here, while the open plains offer no cover. The largest herbivore found in the forest steppes is the sauropod Behemothsaurus cerulodurmus, called Kaarak by the natives and the Masu colonizers. Large bulls reach 35 meters in length, at a weight of 45 metric tons. The Kaarak belongs to a family named Gladiocardids or sword-tail sauropods, for the sharp plates towards the end of their powerful tails. They are mixed feeders, both comfortable in the grasslands and the mosaic forests. Another large herbivore widespread in this region is the ankylopolaxian iguanodont Ornithosaurus cervicornis or taluk. The Atan preys on both of these dinosaurs. Atan are neither particularly fast, reaching top speeds of around 25 km per hour, nor are they very agile. This means they have to resort to ambushes or hunting prey that is slower, for example sauropods. Like most regolithosuchids, Atan are facultative quadrupeds. They can spend most of the time standing on their hind limbs, but they can move on all fours for greater stability, allowing them to make quicker turns without falling over. When sneaking up on prey, they walk on all fours, distributing their weight further with fatty toe pads silencing their footsteps. For such a large predator, they can be surprisingly stealthy. From here on, the next steps, which often can be quite graphic, depend on their prey item. If prey is smaller, the Atan usually try to topple it over and pin it down before tearing out big chunks of flesh. In this case, an Atan rarely wastes time with delivering a killing blow and begins feeding while the prey is still alive, restrained by the predator's powerful limbs. If the prey is larger, for example a Kaarak, an Atan is more careful. The largest bulls are usually hunted out of desperation only, but the sauropod's tail blades are a dangerous weapon nonetheless if swung at a high speed, and basically all older Atan are covered in scars from such encounters. When fighting larger prey, the Atan will try to cripple it first by attacking the legs and specifically the cauda femoralis muscle attaching to the hind limb and the base of the tail. Once sinking its teeth into the tissue, the Atan pulls back with powerful neck muscles and yanks away the flesh. It will try to tear away pieces until its prey collapses. Once an Atan has claimed its victim, it will pack in as much as it can throughout the following days. Its bone-crushing jaws granted access to nutritious bone marrow. Adult Necatyrannus live a life of feast and famine. They can go without hunting for weeks once they took down a large animal and built up their reserves. Throughout this time, they are sometimes observed eating tree leaves and seeds. This kind of omnivory is common among regolithosuchids, though the Atan doesn't gain much from it, and eventually it has to go out hunting again. Although Atan only search and hunt actively for large prey that is worth the caloric demand, they are fairly opportunistic aside from that. If they can catch something, they happily take it. Additionally, they scavenge or steal kills from other predators. While most regolithosuchids have relatively slow metabolisms compared to other aurisuchians, the Atan still obviously needs a lot of food overall, and it will look for every opportunity to acquire it. And kleptoparasitism is of no effort for an adult Necatyrannus. To get through harsher times, Atan build up ample fat reserves in times of plenty. Sometimes the difference between the seasonal peak and the lowest point can be as much as 2 tons in healthy individuals. Atan are renowned for their aggressiveness. Males of the species are nomadic, but females are extremely territorial. Once they claim the territory, they defend it against other adult females in violent territorial disputes. Usually an adult female will not be able to claim a territory before her late 20s or even early 30s. A female will hold this territory for as long as she can, fending off any challengers. In many cases, these challengers can be her own siblings. She herself might be displaced or even killed by a younger sibling taking over her territory. When an Atan loses its territory, it's often an old or injured individual. The female not only doesn't tolerate other adult females that might challenge her, but Atan are also known to be incredibly aggressive towards other large predators. The largest predators in this region, aside from the Atan, are the regularly sucate Archosaurus titanophonius or Etucumaha and the Neospinosaurus Thanatonax australis or Taoar. The Taoar is common in the southern prairies, which are too open for the Atan, but is never spread into the forest steppes. Same with the Etucumaha, which inhabits the western coastal forests, which the Atan finds too dense to comfortably settle in. Sometimes individuals of these species still venture into the forest steppes and encounter an Atan. And Atan do not tolerate anything they view as competition. This includes other large predators. Predators above 2 tons are actually quite rare in the southern forest steppes. Female Atan actively chase them out of the territory or even kill them if they can get a hold of them. Male Atan may generally be less aggressive since they do not settle in a defined territory, but during mating season they can also become extremely violent with one another. During the mating season in late winter, females attract the wandering males with low infrasonic calls that can travel vast distances. If 2 males end up following the same mating call, they come to blows over mating rights, and the dispute is often settled violently, with the loser not rarely ending up killed. The female mates with the victorious male, which then leaves her on her own. Necatyrannus has a relatively low reproductive rate, only laying a clutch once every year. Atan nests are fairly simple, with the female just digging a pit into the soil and covering it with rotting plant matter, leaving incubation to the warmth of the sun. An Atan usually lays around 10 eggs in a single clutch. A majority of them often ends up being taken by nest raiders, especially among a mother's first few clutches, as there aren't many juveniles around keeping nest raiders in check, but the offspring that make it to hatching will be protected by the mother for around a year. During the first winter, the mother provides them with food and warmth. The winters are cold, and while there's little snow, the land is often ravaged by nasty storms, without many obstacles hindering them. For the following years, the juveniles are tolerated within the territory as mesopredators. When they reach adolescence, they wander off to find their own territory or come back as adults to replace whoever took over their parents' territory. Like mentioned before, does not rarely include siblings. If an Atan survives most of its life as a mesopredator, manages to settle in a territory or survive battles against others of its kind, and is a successful hunter, its average life expectancy will be around 40 years. There have been instances of older individuals, some even claimed the existence of Atan that lived to 60 years old, but most of the time these animals die a lot younger. They are extremely resilient and can take a lot of punishment throughout their lives, can heal heavy injuries and have robust immune systems. Some even live with broken jaws or necks. But their prey is dangerous on its own, and their aggressive and competitive nature leads to violent confrontations that eventually catch up to them. In fact, Atan rarely die of actual old age. But it is this harsh lifestyle, their hostility with one another, and their low reproductive rate that ensures this massive predator does not take more than the southern forest steppes have to offer. Cultural perception of these beasts varies. The native people of the forest steppes try to interact with them as little as possible. Atan are mostly met with fear and disgust because of the way they hunt. Young Atan are certainly hunted, but these operations always risk creating a man-eater if the juvenile survives. Furthermore, an adult Atan is virtually impossible to kill for these people for obvious reasons. Their size, tough hide, and a compact brain positioned deep inside the skull beneath a thick layer of bone does not allow any of their weapons to pierce deep enough to cause sufficient damage. Atan usually are indifferent to human settlements, but when an individual is heavily wounded, it might resort to seek out a village for easier prey. All the inhabitants can do in this case comes down to deterrence. Firework is used against predators like an injured Atan raiding a village, and is usually successful in fending them off. The fact that Atan often end up losing their territory or even their lives to another individual has led to them being used as a metaphor in many cautionary tales about greed and selfishness. When the Masu colonized southeastern Arum, they made their way into the forest steppes themselves. Before that, they were aware of the existence of a huge predator ruling over these lands, but with most of the Arumian settlements being located along the coast, they never really interacted with it. This creature was always more of a myth from the tales of travelers coming from inland, but eventually they gained a clearer picture through expeditions into the thinly settled region. In the works of participating researchers, the Atan is often met with admiration for its power and resilience. On the other hand, some expeditions also got faced with the forest steppe tyrant's wrath. One particular incident in Earth year 1943 involved an adult Atan rampaging through an expedition camp. A group of researchers and soldiers was sent into the southern forest steppes by the Masuk Empire while it started to colonize southeastern Arum. One day, the expedition's camp was attacked by the resident Necatyrannus female, who was initially just interested in the animals the researchers brought along as mounts and beasts of burden. But she was further agitated by a futile attempt of defense, prompting her to kill 3 men before the soldiers backed off, letting her leave with the corpse of a domesticated dinosaur she killed. What remained was a number of horrifying reports about a towering beast whose claws struck with enough force to make bodies simply explode and jaws that effortlessly pulverized the bones of men it could swallow whole. The Kashawa local tribe called her Atarohohan, the blood-faced queen. In a simplified version, the term was continued to be used by the Masuk to name the animal in their language, Atan.